Imagine this. A technology built to liberate people from financial control is quietly being swallowed by the very institutions it sought to escape. In boardrooms from Wall Street to Shanghai, power brokers are quietly acquiring something once reserved for the rebels: Bitcoin. Behind the scenes, Bitcoin ETFs are exploding in billions of net inflow. Sovereigns are stockpiling. And slowly, maybe too quietly, the balance of power is shifting. The question is no longer if Bitcoin will go mainstream. The real question is, who will control it when it does? Because if Bitcoin ends up in the hands of a few institutions, it may still survive, but it will lost its true soul. When Satoshi Nakamoto first released the Bitcoin white paper in 2008, it wasn't just about money. It was a philosophy, a call for financial sovereignty, a rebellion against the system that bailed out banks while ordinary people lost their life savings and homes. And for over a decade, that spirit held strong. Bitcoin was messy, volatile, misunderstood, and yet fiercely decentralized. It belonged to the people. Bitcoin miners ran their own rigs, holders stored their keys. The community taught itself through forums, memes, and relentless conviction. But then came the shift. The institutions and governments arrived. At first, institutions ignored Bitcoin. Then they laughed. Then they panicked and started buying. In the past few years, we've seen the rise of Bitcoin ETFs, corporate treasuries, and even governments adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. MicroStrategy went all in, Tesla followed, El Salvador made it legal tender, and soon, US Bitcoin ETFs alone will amass over $100 billion in assets. Suddenly, Bitcoin wasn't just magic internet money, it was digital gold, a portfolio hedge, a yield strategy, a new asset class. The revolution had been tamed, or so it seemed. But here's the thing. When institutions buy Bitcoin, they don't use it. They don't run nodes. They don't care about decentralization. They hold it, stake it, report it. And slowly, they reshape the narrative. What was once a tool for peer-to-peer freedom starts looking a lot like a glorified bond. But the real danger? That goes deeper. What happens if institutions control most of the supply? It's not just about who owns the coins. It's about who controls the story. You see, Bitcoin was born to disrupt centralized finance. But if BlackRock, Fidelity, or sovereign funds hold over 50% of supply, haven't we just rebuilt the same power structures in a new skin? These few giants could influence protocol changes through lobbying or sponsorships, manipulate narratives about what Bitcoin is for, act as gatekeepers, deciding who can access their BTC. They will use price volatility as the weapon against us. Retail panic sells. Institutions rebalance. One coordinated exit from a few whales could tank the market, wiping out retail wealth in minutes. We've already seen glimpses: large sell-offs, flash crashes, liquidations cascading across exchanges. But what if next time it's planned? You see, with big players come big regulators. Imagine this future. KYC on every transaction, clean versus tainted Bitcoin, blacklisted wallets, forks proposed to make Bitcoin compliant. It sounds dystopian, but it's already creeping in, quietly. The SEC isn't trying to kill Bitcoin, it's trying to control it. And when institutions welcome oversight, decentralization dies a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Imagine this: grassroots education, open source wallets, local Bitcoin meetups, privacy tools. All of this fades when most coins are locked in ETF vaults and cold storage custodians. The community weakens, the culture dissolves. Bitcoin becomes a number on a brokerage screen. As of mid-2025, the data tells us a surprising story. Despite the noise, individuals still hold the majority of Bitcoin. Here's the breakdown. Institutions and public companies: 16% including MicroStrategy, Tesla, Grayscale, and ETFs. Governments, 1% including US reserves. That leaves us around 83% in the hands of individuals. But don't celebrate yet, because the trend is shifting. In 2024 alone, over 525,000 BTC moved from individuals to institutions. Bitcoin ETFs are extremely hungry, and they're just getting started. Let's do the math. If institutions continue acquiring 400,000 BTC per year, they could control 50% of the available supply within the next 5 years. But here's the catch. They can't buy what isn't for sale. As individuals, we must hold our Bitcoin long-term and avoid selling it to these institutions. The truth is, there are only 21 million Bitcoin, and of that, 19 million have already been mined. 4 million are lost forever. 68% haven't moved in over a year. And millions are self-custodied in cold wallets, not exchanges. To dominate 50%, institutions would need 10 million BTC. That means buying up another 5 million BTC, convincing millions of holders to sell, outbidding themselves as price rises. Every coin they buy makes the next one harder to acquire. And they know it. That's why their real goal isn't ownership, it's influence. Even if institutions never own 50%, they could still control the narrative by funding media, education, and influencers. Market through volume, derivatives, and coordinated plays. Regulations by working with governments to clean up crypto. Think about it. Individual holders sets the ethos, but institutions now set the tone. This subtle shift from ownership to cultural control is already underway. There is no perfect system, but here's what a healthy ecosystem could look like. Individuals, 50% to maintain decentralization and resilience. Institutions, 30% to add stability, liquidity, adoption. Governments, 10% for strategic reserves, signaling legitimacy. Miners and developers, 10% to align incentives with network upkeep. You see, this isn't a prescription, it's a balance. Enough institutional presence to protect the asset, enough individual control to protect the mission. But now let's paint the darkest future. If institutions hold 60%, individuals like you and me would be priced out, developers would be funded by ETFs, miners would rely on grants from Wall Street, and the average user, just a spectator. Bitcoin survives, but it becomes a shell of its former self, a digital asset, not a digital revolution. This isn't just speculative fiction, it's a warning, because the future of Bitcoin doesn't just depend on its code, it depends on us. At the time of this video, the good news is all is not lost. Self-custody is rising again post-FTX collapse. Education movements like Bitcoin for the 99% are growing. Millions in Argentina, Nigeria, Lebanon use BTC as real money. Grassroots developers are building tools for privacy and sovereignty. This is the soul of Bitcoin. And it's not going quietly. If you think Bitcoin is just a store of value, maybe this doesn't matter. But if you believe it's a tool for freedom, then this question is everything. Because ownership isn't about percentage points. It's about power. And right now, that power is shifting. So the next time someone tells you Bitcoin is going mainstream, ask them, whose hands is it going into? Because in this game, who holds the keys holds the future.